Assalamu alaikum friends. Today's story is about the childhood of Hazrat Imam Ali Nabi R, taken from the book The Little Scholar. This is the 12th story in the Heavenly Children series by Kisa Kids Publications, guided by Maulana Nabi R. Let's open the pages of this incredible story from his childhood. Mu'tasim grunted and muttered to himself. Although he was the caliph, the ruler of the land, he pushed his food around his plate like a grumpy child with an ugly grimace on his face. He glared around the palace courtroom. He was so furious. Gruffly, he snatched the crown off his head to wipe the beads of sweat rolling down to his eyebrows. His vizier had been anxiously studying the caliph. It was his job to keep the caliph happy by helping him solve his problems. Working for such an unpleasant but powerful person was dangerous. If the vizier didn't do his job, he could be fired or worse, killed. The vizier knew he had to do something. He kneeled before Mu'tasim. "My master," he croaked nervously, "may my father and mother be sacrificed for you." But this only enraged Mu'tasim even more. "Quiet!" he bellowed. "Everyone just be quiet!" The vizier scrambled to his feet. He looked down at his shoes, avoiding the caliph's eyes. The palace guards exchanged glances, shifting tensely from one foot to the other. What would the caliph do next? Mu'tasim was known for being moody and unreasonable. When he was in a bad mood, he could give very harsh punishments. The last time he was mad, he sent a soldier to the executioner to be killed just for making a small sound. Mu'tasim pushed himself to his feet and began pacing back and forth. "We put him in prison," he growled to himself, "and he teaches the prison guards. We banish him from the city, and he persuades the people there. We have to poison him." Mu'tasim paused. Everyone held their breath. "But if we poison him, the Shias will rise against me in protest. What do I do with his family?" He threw his arms up in frustration. Mu'tasim was not talking about a rival ruler who had lots of riches, armies of men, and huge palaces. No, he was talking about a young 8-year-old boy whose father, Imam al-Jawad al-Islam, he had just poisoned. He was talking about Imam al-Hadi al-Islam. Despite now being orphaned and being so young, Imam al-Hadi al-Islam had already begun his job of guiding the people to the truth. He was already winning their hearts. If the people turned towards Imam al-Hadi al-Islam, they would surely turn away from Mu'tasim. If Mu'tasim imprisoned the young boy, the people would revolt. If he did nothing, he knew that Imam al-Hadi al-Islam would earn everyone's love and loyalty. They would no longer tolerate Mu'tasim's tyrannical rule, and they would overthrow him. After all, people always seem to find their way towards the truth. Mu'tasim had to do something. Mu'tasim stood there, fuming and raging to himself. The vizier felt like this was a good time to interrupt Mu'tasim's thoughts, and cautiously said, "May I be sacrificed for you, my master? I have a good idea." Mu'tasim sharply turned around and stalked towards his vizier. Mu'tasim viciously grabbed the vizier's collar, glaring at him I will make your mother cry for you. You better not say anything ridiculous, or I will kill you," he shrieked. The vizier cowered under the caliph's seething breath. His mouth turned dry. He gulped. Yes, my master, whatever you wish." Mu'tasim let go of the vizier's collar and shouted, "Speak!" The vizier exhaled slowly. "He is very young," he began. "Why don't we bring him here and train him ourselves? I know of a Quran teacher named Junaidi. He hates Prophet Muhammad's family. All we have to do is pay him generously, and he will teach the young boy how to hate his lineage and be loyal to you. This is much better than putting the child in jail, because this way no one will revolt against you. They will have no idea what we are doing." The vizier was very pleased with his own idea, but he knew Mu'tasim. If he didn't like the vizier's suggestion, he could lose his temper again. The vizier waited nervously for Mu'tasim to respond. Mu'tasim stared at the vizier for a moment, then looked away as he bit into an apple. The juice trickled down into his mustache and beard. The vizier and all the guards were on edge with suspense. What did Mu'tasim think of this evil plan? All of a sudden, he began laughing hysterically. Chunks of apple flew out of his mouth as his shoulders shook with each laugh. He wiped the spit from his mouth with his sleeve. He sneered gleefully at the vizier. "I knew you were the smartest vizier I could find." Mu'tasim grabbed a bag of gold and threw it at the vizier. The bag hit his chest so hard that he lost his balance. The gold coins spilled all over the floor. The vizier thanked the caliph profusely as he scrambled onto his hands and knees, chasing after the scattering coins. That same evening, the caliph sent a messenger to Junaidi with a letter and 2 bags of gold coins. Upon seeing the bags of gold, Junaidi promptly accepted the job and told the messenger to send Imam al-Hadi al-Islam to his school that next day. The next morning, as all the children filed into Quran class, Junaidi eagerly looked around for Imam al-Hadi al-Islam. He didn't see a new student amongst all the children. Something caught the corner of his eye. Suddenly, he realized the young Imam al-Islam was sitting right next to him, and he was the only child without a Quran. Junaidi smiled to himself. This child probably doesn't know anything. I can even translate the ayahs of Quran however I like, and he won't have a clue, he thought smugly. A month later, Junaidi was summoned to the palace. Mu'tasim wanted to know how Junaidi's little student was doing. As he walked into the courtroom, Junaidi respectfully bowed before the caliph. The caliph was in the middle of a meal, but when he saw that Junaidi had arrived, he didn't even wait to swallow his bite. With a mouthful of food, he sputtered, "So what news do you have about the boy?" He was so excited to hear if the plan was working. Calmly, Junaidi said, "My master, please do not say boy. Say teacher." Mu'tasim immediately stopped chewing. His jaw fell open, and all the glee on his face disappeared. He was shocked. "What do you mean, teacher?" he shouted with an angry grimace. "My master, everyone knows me as a teacher, but this child is much more educated than I am," Junaidi replied. Mu'tasim gulped. He curled his finger into tight fists, and his nose fled. He has memorized the entire Quran and even points out my mistakes. He doesn't bring a Quran to class, but whenever I ask him to recite from a long surah, he knows where to start and end. When I hear him recite the verses, I feel like I know nothing. He knows the answers to most challenging questions. I swear his knowledge is from Allah. What could I possibly teach him? He is my teacher. Stop! Mu'tasim had stood up, gripping the arms of his chair with white knuckles. He was panting in fury, and beads of sweat had started rolling into his eyebrows. The vizier, the guards, and the court attendants all stood still, waiting. The caliph ran toward one of his guards and snatched his sword. Everyone looked at Junaidi, but it wasn't Junaidi Mu'tasim was aiming for. Like a raging bull, Mu'tasim charged towards his vizier sword, pointing right at his head. I told you I'd make your mother cry. Everyone watched as the vizier bolted out of the palace hall, never to be seen again. Friends, I hope you enjoyed today's story, which deepens our love for the Ahlul Bayt alayhis salam in our hearts. May Allah guide us on the righteous path of Ahlul Bayt alayhis salam. I'll be back soon with another story from the same series about our 11th Imam, al-Askari alayhis salam. Until then, take care and Allah Hafiz.